Let me tell you something. Most men will never admit out loud. The moment you stop answering his texts, the second you stop giving him your time, your energy, your attention, something shifts inside him. He might act calm. He might act unbothered. He might even pretend he doesn't care. But deep down, he feels it. And here's the secret no one talks about. Ignoring a man doesn't just confuse him. It triggers his deepest fears, his ego, and his need to prove himself. See, most men are wired to seek validation from the women they desire. The more they feel your energy, the more secure they feel. But the second you pull away, suddenly, his entire sense of control gets shaken. That's when the psychological switch flips. And here's where it gets interesting. When you ignore him the right way, his brain starts working against him. He begins questioning himself, replaying every conversation, wondering why you're silent, and before he realizes it, he's chasing you harder than ever before. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what happens inside a man's mind when you ignore him, why it works, and how to use this knowledge to shift the power back in your hands. So, buckle up. Because by the end of this, you'll never look at male psychology the same way again. You see, men are often taught to act like they're in control. Society tells them they should always be confident, strong, and emotionally detached. But here's the truth they never tell you. Most men are far more sensitive to rejection and loss than they'll ever admit. When you ignore a man, you're not just taking away your attention, you're triggering his survival instincts. At a subconscious level, humans crave connection and validation. For men, especially those who are used to being pursued or admired, your silence hits differently. It challenges his sense of importance, his ego, and even his identity. Inside his mind, something interesting starts happening. At first, he might brush it off. She's just busy, no big deal. But as time goes on, dopamine, the chemical responsible for pleasure and reward, begins to drop because he's no longer getting that little boost from your replies, your attention, or your energy. And guess what happens when dopamine drops? His brain goes into overdrive searching for ways to get that feeling back. That's when he starts thinking about you more. Ignoring also creates uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the most powerful emotional triggers. When a man doesn't know where he stands with you, his brain magnifies your value. You suddenly become the prize, the mystery he can't figure out, the one thing he wants but can't have. And here's the secret. Men are wired to chase what they can't easily get. The moment you pull your energy back, his instincts kick in. He starts wondering, did I do something wrong? Is she losing interest? Is someone else getting her attention? That curiosity turns into obsession, and before long, he finds himself missing you more than he expected. So when you ignore a man, it's not about playing games, it's about shifting the balance of power and letting his own psychology work for you. Because the less you give, the more he craves. When you ignore a man, you set off a chain reaction inside him that most women never see. On the surface, he might look calm, maybe even collected. But beneath that exterior, his emotions are spiraling. And it almost always follows the same hidden pattern. A silent roller coaster he'll never admit he's on. At first there's denial. He convinces himself it's nothing. She's just busy. She'll text me back later. He wants to believe your silence is temporary because deep down his ego is protecting him from the sting of rejection. But as hours turn into days, curiosity takes over. He starts wondering, did I say something wrong? Did I push too hard? This stage is subtle, but it's powerful, because it's the first crack in his emotional armor. He starts replaying old conversations, analyzing every word, searching for clues. Then comes frustration. He starts thinking, why isn't she replying? Why is she ignoring me? This is where his pride kicks in. Part of him wants to stay detached, but the other part, that's when the chasing instinct begins to awaken. He might test the waters by sending a random message, a meme, or even something playful, just to see if you'll respond. When that doesn't work, the emotional intensity ramps up. This is the insecurity stage. He starts questioning his worth, even if he doesn't admit it. He wonders if you've lost interest, or if someone else has your attention. His mind begins creating scenarios that make him restless, anxious, and obsessed. And the more he thinks about you, the more dopamine floods his system when he imagines finally hearing from you again. Then he enters the longing phase, and this is where the real shift happens. Your silence transforms you into a mystery. Suddenly you're no longer just someone he texts casually, you become the challenge he can't solve, the prize he hasn't won yet. His imagination amplifies your value, and every little interaction you used to have now feels rare and precious. And finally, there's acceptance or pursuit. Some men give up when they feel ignored for too long, but most, they chase. They text more, they try harder, they suddenly remember all the little things they miss about you. They're driven by an emotional cocktail of ego, desire, and curiosity, and without even realizing it, they're hooked. The silence. It's not just silence, it's a psychological trigger, one that forces him onto an emotional roller coaster, and he doesn't even know you're the one controlling the ride. Here's the paradox. Most women don't realize about men, they crave your attention more than they'll ever admit, but they respect you more when you give them less of it. And understanding this dynamic is the key to unlocking male psychology. Men are naturally drawn to validation. When you give him your time, your energy, your compliments, it feeds his ego and gives him a sense of importance. That's why, in the beginning, when you're texting frequently, laughing at his jokes, and showing him attention, he feels good. He feels secure. But here's where the shift happens. Too much attention creates comfort, and comfort kills attraction. When a man knows exactly where he stands with you, when he knows you'll always reply, always be available, always say yes, a part of his brain stops working as hard to keep you. There's no mystery, no challenge, no dopamine-driven chase. And men are wired to chase. That's not an opinion, it's biology. The male brain associates uncertainty with reward. When he's not sure where he stands, when he doesn't know if you're fully invested, his dopamine spikes. That's the same chemical responsible for excitement, obsession, and craving. This is why distance works like magic. When you pull back, even slightly, it creates a scarcity effect. Suddenly your attention, something he once took for granted, feels rare. And what's rare instantly becomes valuable. But here's the twist. Men don't just crave your attention. They respect your boundaries when you know how to set them. When you prioritize yourself, when you have your own life, your own goals, and your own energy, he sees you differently. You're no longer someone seeking his validation. You become someone he needs to earn. And that changes everything. Distance triggers his natural instinct to pursue, but it also earns his respect, because you're showing him you're not afraid to walk away. That quiet confidence is magnetic. It tells him, I want you, but I don't need you. The moment a man senses that your happiness doesn't revolve around him, he steps up, he tries harder, he invests more, he pays attention in ways he never did before. So yes, men love your attention, but they value your distance even more. When you give less, they give more. When you stop chasing, they start running. And when you stop needing them, they become obsessed with winning you. Texting seems simple, but when it comes to attraction, your silence can speak louder than any message you could send. When you don't reply, you're not just ignoring a text, you're triggering a psychological reaction inside his mind that he can't control. At first, when you leave him on read, he tells himself, it's fine, she's busy, she'll get back to me later. He might even shrug it off and pretend not to care. But beneath the surface, a small seed of uncertainty is planted. And uncertainty is powerful. See, the male brain thrives on patterns. When you normally reply quickly, he feels secure. But when you suddenly stop, his brain goes into problem-solving mode. He starts questioning everything. Did I say something wrong? Is she upset? Has she lost interest? The longer you stay silent, the stronger this effect becomes. That's because ignoring interrupts the dopamine loop. Normally, every text from you gives him a small hit of dopamine, the same feel-good chemical linked to excitement and reward. But when you don't reply, that reward disappears, and his brain starts craving it even more. This craving often pushes him into pursuit mode. Suddenly, he starts overthinking his words, crafting better replies, or even double texting just to get your attention. Some men will send funny memes or accidental texts as subtle excuses to reconnect. It's not random, it's psychological hunger. But here's where it gets interesting. Your silence also raises your perceived value. When you're not instantly available, he starts to see you as someone who has options, priorities, and self-respect. You become a mystery, and mystery breeds attraction. However, here's the key. This only works when your silence feels intentional, not reactive. If you're ignoring him out of frustration or playing obvious games, he can sense it and the effect weakens. But when your lack of reply comes from genuine self-confidence, when you're busy living your life, focusing on yourself, that's when he feels the pull the strongest. By not replying, you're subtly shifting the power dynamic. You're showing him that your world doesn't revolve around his messages. And that quiet confidence, it drives him crazy in the best way possible. So the next time you hesitate before replying, remember this: sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Silence. It's one of the most powerful tools you have when it comes to attraction. And yet most people underestimate it. You see, when you stop giving a man your energy, your time, and your attention, you create an emotional void. And that void forces him to feel your absence in ways you can't imagine. At first, he might act like he doesn't care. He'll stay calm, keep posting on social media, and pretend he's completely unfazed. But the truth? That silence starts echoing inside his mind. Because when you stop engaging, you're removing something he once relied on. Your validation, your presence, and your attention. The male brain is wired to seek patterns and rewards. When you used to reply, give affection, and interact, you were part of his comfort zone. But the moment you go quiet, the dopamine reward cycle breaks, and suddenly, your absence feels uncomfortable. That discomfort creates a deep, almost uncontrollable craving for your attention. Here's the thing most women don't realize: missing someone isn't caused by their presence, it's caused by their absence. It's in the silence where desire grows. When you're not there, he begins to romanticize your memory, replay your conversations, and magnify your importance in his life. And then something fascinating happens. The power dynamic shifts. You're no longer the one seeking him. You're no longer the one constantly available. Instead, he starts to wonder, where is she? Why isn't she texting me back? Is she talking to someone else? Those questions trigger his chasing instinct. The less you give, the more he wants. The less you show, the more he seeks. And when he finally realizes that your attention isn't guaranteed, he begins to value it more than ever. But here's the secret: silence only works when it's paired with self-focus. It's not about sitting around waiting for him to come back. It's about living your life, leveling up, and becoming the version of yourself that attracts naturally. When your silence comes from confidence instead of desperation, it becomes magnetic. So, if you truly want to make him miss you, remember this: sometimes the strongest statement you can make is saying absolutely nothing at all. Here's the truth. Most people never realize the moment you stop giving someone unlimited access to you, your value instantly increases. And when it comes to men, this effect is even stronger. When you're constantly available, replying instantly, always saying yes, giving your time and energy without hesitation, you unintentionally lower your perceived value. Not because you're not amazing, but because human psychology naturally undervalues what's too easy to get. Think about it. We chase what feels rare. We desire what feels scarce. And when you pull your attention back, when you stop texting first, stop over-explaining, stop proving your worth, you create scarcity. That scarcity makes him view you differently, almost instantly. Men are wired to seek challenge. It's deeply rooted in their biology and ego. When something comes effortlessly, the brain registers it as less valuable. But when there's effort involved, when he feels like he has to work for your time, your affection, and your energy, he automatically places a higher value on you. Ignoring strategically taps into this exact instinct. By stepping back, you're silently communicating, I'm not desperate. I have options. My happiness doesn't depend on you. And here's the fascinating part. Your silence forces him to reflect on what he's losing. Suddenly, the little things he took for granted, your good morning texts, your laughs, your attention, feel rare and precious. He begins to replay memories, reread old conversations, and wonder why he didn't appreciate you more. That emotional gap you create, it makes him want you more than before. This doesn't just boost your value in his eyes, it boosts your self-worth too. Because while he's thinking about you, you're focusing on yourself, your goals, your growth, your confidence. That energy shift is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who are focused on their own lives and happiness. And that's the beauty of it. Ignoring isn't about manipulation. It's about reclaiming your power. The moment you stop overgiving and start protecting your energy, you position yourself as someone who demands respect, without saying a word. When your attention becomes rare, it becomes valuable. And when it's valuable, he has no choice but to work harder to earn it. Pulling away and ignoring a man can be incredibly powerful, but only if you do it right. Unfortunately, many women unintentionally sabotage themselves because they make a few key mistakes that completely reverse the effect. And instead of making him chase harder, they actually push him away for good. The first mistake is being inconsistent. One day you ignore him, the next you're liking his posts, replying instantly, or sending double texts. This sends mixed signals. Men quickly pick up on this inconsistency and assume you're playing games, and when they sense manipulation, they detach emotionally. The second mistake is pulling away for the wrong reasons. If you're ignoring him just to get a reaction, it shows. Energy doesn't lie. Men can sense when your silence comes from desperation, fear, or insecurity. But when you pull away because you're genuinely prioritizing yourself, focusing on your growth, and protecting your peace, that's when it becomes powerful and attractive. The third mistake is checking up on him secretly, watching his every move, stalking his social media, and overanalyzing everything he does defeats the purpose. True detachment means removing your emotional dependence on his actions. If he feels like you're silently waiting for him, the psychological effect of ignoring him weakens. The fourth mistake is breaking your silence too soon. A lot of women get impatient and cave in after a few hours or a couple of days. But here's the truth. The male emotional cycle takes time. It's not until he fully feels your absence that the craving begins. If you interrupt that process, you never give him the chance to truly miss you. The fifth mistake is reacting emotionally when he doesn't respond the way you expected. Maybe he pulls back too. Maybe he seems unbothered. But if you panic and suddenly chase, you undo all your progress. The key is staying calm, collected, and confident regardless of his behavior. Remember this: pulling away isn't a game, it's a shift in energy. It only works when it comes from a place of strength, not fear. When you step back because you know your worth, that's when he starts questioning his actions, reflecting on what he's losing, and feeling that magnetic pull toward you. Your silence is powerful, but only when paired with patience, consistency, and self-respect. Use it wisely, and you'll make him chase you harder than ever before. Here's the truth. You don't need to manipulate, pretend, or play childish games to make a man chase you. In fact, the most effective way to get him to pursue you is by stepping fully into your authentic power. When you know your worth, set clear boundaries, and live in alignment with your own happiness, men feel it, and they can't resist it. The first key is self-priority. A woman who is genuinely focused on her own life is magnetic. When you pour energy into your passions, your goals, your friendships, and your personal growth, you naturally become more attractive. Why? Because men are wired to chase what feels valuable. And nothing is more valuable than someone who is complete on her own. The second key is consistency in your standards. A lot of women say they want respect, effort, and commitment, but then accept breadcrumbs when he offers less. The fastest way to make him chase you without games is to hold firm to your standards. When you show him, this is what I expect, and I won't settle for less, he instantly understands that if he wants you, he has to step up. The third key is healthy detachment. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being secure enough not to panic if he pulls away. Men respect women who don't collapse emotionally when things get uncertain. Your calmness signals confidence, and confidence is what keeps him chasing, because he realizes you're not afraid of losing him. The fourth key is rewarding effort, not words. Men can say anything, but what truly matters is action. When he invests time, energy, and consistency, that's when you show appreciation and affection. This creates a powerful cycle. The more he gives, the more he receives. And because he feels that his efforts matter, he keeps chasing. And finally, the fifth key is authenticity. Pretending to be someone you're not, playing games, or acting indifferent when you actually care will always backfire. The most irresistible women are the ones who show genuine interest, but who also know when to step back and protect their value. When you combine self-priority, high standards, healthy detachment, rewarding effort, and authenticity, you don't need tricks. You don't need silence as a weapon or mixed signals as bait. You naturally become the kind of woman who inspires pursuit, And when a man chases you out of genuine desire, not manipulation, that's when real connection begins. Because the truth is, the most powerful way to make him chase you is by becoming the kind of woman he never wants to lose. Here's the truth. Men will never openly admit, no matter how confident, detached, or in control they appear. They have emotional triggers they desperately try to hide. And when you understand these hidden secrets, everything about attraction, connection, and power shifts in your favor. The first secret? Men fear losing your attention more than they fear rejection. They may act like they don't care, but deep down, your silence, your distance, and your energy pull have a far stronger impact than you realize. When a man senses he's no longer the center of your focus, his ego feels challenged, and that's when his desire intensifies. The second secret? He values what he has to work for. No matter how much he likes you, if your attention comes too easily, he subconsciously lowers its worth. But when he has to earn your time, when he feels like winning you isn't guaranteed, you become unforgettable. And the third secret, the one almost no one talks about, is this: men crave emotional safety more than they crave constant validation. A woman who can set boundaries, stay calm, and hold her ground creates a powerful sense of stability. That quiet confidence makes him want to invest, commit, and chase harder than he ever has before. Here's what it all comes down to. The strongest women are the ones who know when to give and when to pull back. They're not afraid of silence, they're not afraid of space, and because of that, men respect them, desire them, and most importantly, never forget them. So the next time you're wondering whether to text first, over-explain, or give in too quickly, remember this: sometimes the most attractive thing you can do is let him wonder about you. And there you have it. Now you understand what most men will never openly tell you but secretly feel deeply when you ignore them. You've seen how silence triggers their emotions, how it flips the balance of power, and why pulling back can make you more magnetic than ever. But here's the most important takeaway. This isn't about playing games, it's not about manipulation or tricks. It's about understanding psychology, self-worth, and energy dynamics in relationships. The moment you realize that your attention, your love, and your time are valuable, you start showing up differently, and men can sense it instantly. When you stop chasing, when you stop overgiving, when you stop trying to prove your worth, something powerful happens. You naturally attract effort, respect, and desire without even asking for it. That's the real secret. Now I want you to remember this. A confident woman isn't the loudest in the room. She's the one who can walk away when her value isn't being appreciated. That's your power. That's your leverage. And when you combine that confidence with understanding male psychology, you hold the ultimate advantage in dating and relationships. But don't just watch this video and move on. Apply what you've learned. Start today. Be intentional with your energy. Practice silence when necessary. Set boundaries without guilt. Focus on becoming the highest value version of yourself, because when you do, the right man won't just chase you, he'll work to keep you. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I love hearing your stories and helping you navigate the world of relationships and attraction. Remember this: you are the prize. Stop proving it and start living it.